It's about identifying what your passion is, what your calling is, what you want to do.
And I think it's just about starting. Just start. Like, don't wait for things to. Everything's not gonna like get lined up in a row for you to like start.
Go with your first voice. Don't wait for your second voice to kick in because second voice will always doubt the first voice.
Hi everyone, welcome back to GEPic Journeys, episode 9 on social contribution, titled From Passion to Purpose, Making a Difference in Society. You are joining us on our third segment, and we're going to talk about how you could actually get involved in social contribution and what are the steps or actions that you can actually take to even make that small difference in society. So my first question is for Denham. Denham, what would your advice be to the viewers on how they can take part in social contribution? Are there any like tips or actionable steps that you would suggest?
In terms of tips, it's about, there's need everywhere. I mean, it's not in a particular. I can't sort of say, hey, you know what, this is where you can go and go. I mean, you see it, you know it. I've heard multiple stories of people helping out individuals. I mean, you don't really need to think you're contributing something just because you're part, and that you need to be a part of an organization or you to have your own organization. Individually, you could be just helping one person, and that's enough. I mean, it doesn't need to be like a community. It doesn't need to be huge in what you do. It's within your capacity, within what you could do and what you can contribute. Is my perspective. I mean, as what we do, a lot of people are aware of what we do, people close to us, and what we've started sort of envisioning, like I said in one of the previous segments, is funding is a huge challenge, and going to someone and say, hey, can you keep contributing to us, this is what we are doing, it's sometimes tiresome too, because that takes most of our time in focusing on what we want to do. Like I said, we are happy to contribute time, so if someone wants to work with us, what we've done is we've started this whole newsletter thing. We keep our website up to date, and for anyone who wants to do their own non-for-profit, what's important is to have up-to-date information in terms of the website, keep communicating. Social media has a lot of reach. I mean, there's just so much you could do, but we sort of started this subscription model. It's sort of like a standing order thing where people could donate a certain amount on a monthly basis, and that keeps getting deducted. And our goal is to find at least 1,000 people donating 1,000 rupees a month. You could make the calculation if we do get that done. But to answer your question, a lot of people say, hey, you know what, there's no need to support anyone. Like there's this stigma within the society, or when you go give, how do you really know that they really need to need that help? That's required. But and that's where organizations such as us comes into the picture, because what we promise is we do not just donate stuff as it is. We go, we spend time, and that's what we give back. But and then we don't go work along the lines of being sympathetic. We rather use the word empathetic. There's no point sympathizing with anyone and say, hey, you know why this happened to that person, let me help. You need to be more empathetic in the way you approach people. And then to answer your question directly in terms of tips, it's just what you feel, what you're driven, what your passion is all about. I mean, be it animals, be it the children that you want to work with, be it an elderly community, be it disabled. There's just so much. Constantly something that I keep hearing is there's just a lot of NGOs. Why do you need another NGO? I'm like, there's just so much of a need, and given what we work on, like what Timothy mentioned, I keep repeating it. Like Hatton itself, it's a long-term project to bring them out and you have to be with them, sort of thing. So there is a need for me. So if someone is passionate about starting something up, it's about identifying what your passion is, what your calling is, what you want to do. It may be education, it may be developing a skill, it may be building things, building a certain library or a center that has IT support that can help It's what you're looking at, and then there are organizations out there that will help fund you as part of company CSR initiatives and all that stuff. But you got to have a compelling story, and our goal is to be able to Live, Love and Give's goal is to be able to change one life, and that's what matters, because we want to make sure that everyone is heard. But whilst we want to make sure everybody is heard, everybody has an opportunity. There's so much that we can do, and there's just so much of opportunities. I mean, if you take animals and looking after animals, I mean, we just heard the podcast, 100 animals a year. I don't know how you manage so many. I mean, that means there's a need for another group to come up and replicate the same thing. I'm sure that's something. And even if you take Hatton and what goes through, there's just so much that I'm sure Timothy, your organization is looking at doing in terms of funding and all this stuff. So to answer your question, tips, just where your heart is. And I mean, a giving heart is always good. Not a giving heart for the gram, the Instagram thing, which a lot of people tend to want to do. I mean, it's, as a believer in Christianity, you shouldn't let your left hand know what your right hand is giving, blah, 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 and all that stuff. I mean, you take all those principles into place. It's about what your heart is on. And if you don't have the time, you could always support, you could understand. It's just a matter of spending time, understanding and supporting. I guess that's...
Yeah. So it could be from starting something or to supporting or contributing to something that's already there. Yeah, there's so many things that you can.
Because something we are trying to do is part of our visits to these communities. Once we are at a stage, we are confident, we are trying to encourage visits. We're trying to encourage the community to say, hey, come with us. Go see what they are going to. Just give us 3 days of your busy schedule. See, because when you see, only you really understand. Because I could speak hours on what they need. But when you see and you're aware, so it's important. I'm sure all of our organizations wants volunteers, wants people to advocate for us. That's one way that you could sort of understand and learn, is to be there and see what they go through. I mean, it's just insane, the amount of disparity that's there between the rich and the poor. Whilst we have to do everything that we can to bridge that gap. I mean, some families, they earn as low as 10,000-15,000 rupees. And here I am, I spend sometimes being in Colombo and I see it's just one meal for some families. I mean, again, don't get me wrong, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to say is the difference. I mean, a family lives on a 15,000-20,000 income a month, whereas there are events that people spend that much. I mean, and you have to, I mean, if you look from an economic point of view, that 20,000 expenditure may eventually benefit that family too in the cycle of things, but it's about bridging that gap. And you only know when you go sit and understand what they go through. I mean, we speak about the weather, the challenges and all that stuff. I mean, some of these guys, I mean, those are just the least of concerns for them. It's their day-to-day needs. So, I mean, I've been privileged enough to have a group of people work with me, and I'm pretty sure if a group of people get together and have a similar vision, if they want to know, hey, you know what, I want to start something, can you tell me where I can have like a list of 10 places I can give easily, because we don't have the capacity. So, if feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure, Timothy, you have the same thing. Shilpa has the same thing too. We can suggest, because there's just so many communities that needs help, but there's so much that we can contribute towards getting that help sorted. So that's a little bit of what I think, but I'm sure these two will have a lot more to share.
Yep, thanks so much, Denham, for sharing that. And Timothy, if I was to ask you, what advice do you have for someone who wants to find opportunities for social contribution but kind of doesn't know where to start?
I think finding that passion where you want. There'll be somewhere each individual I know has had an impact in some way. And there'll be something in your heart, where you'd like to connect, hearing stories, if maybe with pets, it could be animals, it could be with kids, it could be with something else. And then you find, okay, from where do I go from here now? Okay, I love this. I hear, maybe you're watching the podcast and you think, hey, I'd love to get involved, I mean, this is something that has been in my heart for a long time, but I didn't know where to start. Finding people, like what Denham said, connect with us. We'll be able to help you, get through. We'll be able to tell you to start, how to start it out, And it's just sometimes the little things, like I think I love what Denham said before was, you might not have the time, but here we have people who have the time, who can go and be there. But I think it's also very important. I always believe seeing is believing. So coming, being a part, we take holidays for so many things, vacations, a long weekend comes. But if we are able to, sacrifice that and say, what, this vacation, let me just go and see this and see how I can be a part of it. I think because I had a family once, a family visited us from abroad, from Australia. They wanted to see what we're doing. And they came and they just, so I took them. They said, we don't want to go on a vacation. We just want to spend 3 days with your project. Like, yeah, definitely, okay. So we went, they stayed there with the families, they did everything. And the teenage daughter went back and she said, you know what, we have so much here. So she used to skip her cup of coffee she would have. She would take that $2.50, put it in a till, and she would collect that at the end of the month and she'll donate it. And for her, it was just skipping a coffee a day, which she would buy from a cafe. And sometimes a simple thing. So we have little things where, I know in abroad they have this where you can take the bottle or the can and you get 10 cents for it,
I've seen it.
So there are school kids who do this. So they save up, they take the cans, they go collect it, collect that money, and then they give saying, we aren't able to come and do, but hey, we would love what we believe in what you're doing and we want to connect with it. So, and simple things like time, I would say, more than anything. There may be a gift and a talent that you have, which you feel you can make an impact. Maybe it's a sewing skill or a skill you would love to come and teach a community,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, creativity and things like that. And that one thing you teach can unlock a child's mind to get into that area. It may be carpentry, it could be anything. Each of us have a skill. If we are willing to just, hey, I would love to come and do a workshop with these kids. Simple as
You guys
that.
just need to contact, one of you guys and
Or even in a village, farming methods, different.
It's exactly what Timothy was saying. I was actually thinking one of the groups that we're trying to work with, they employ blind and deaf people to get work done, but that operation is not profitable. And when we started understanding the operation, we realized they don't need funding. They get the funding. What they need is a strategic person who understands running a business to come and tell them how to put the process in place. Now, and ironically, the challenge is to find that one person who could commit a month towards contributing towards it. So, like Timothy mentioned, it's not financially. It's maybe a skill. It's maybe a talent that you have that you can give back. And some of these kids, some of these adults, they value that. And that's important. Like you said, farming. I mean, there's so many farming techniques and all that stuff. And maybe you are a pro at it. You don't need to go contribute your money. It's about giving that knowledge and technologies develop. You could do that. Like I spoke before, psychology and understanding. Like one of the things that we are trying to sort of encourage the teachers in Padavir is to train them to understand that you have to have that extra leverage with some of the kids, because there is a situation with them that they are psychologically affected, but they don't understand that. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to find people here in Colombo that can set their time away. I mean, and then obviously on a voluntary basis, train them. And that's enough. I mean, whoever who's listening to the podcast, I mean, they can be talented in whatever way. It's about them saying, hey, you know what, I don't want to, I'm not that I don't want to, I can't contribute at this juncture, but I can contribute time. I can help that skill. So like Timothy mentioned, and it's various ways. At the end of the day, you feel like, I think I heard you ask the question from Shilpa, and when Shilpa was sort of replying, saying satisfaction and that I mean, you have this great sense of, it's therapeutic for you too.
Yeah.
Not to say, hey, I was able to help that person, that was right, but it's I see someone growing and I was able to support that person. So it's actually beneficial. And you see people like Timothy who comes out of it, I mean, they want to give back, and then it continues. So I think that's true. That's something that people could do, which is give their time based on the skill that they have which helps develop a community.
Yeah, because like you said, there is so much talent out there which is not yet tapped into. But if we can build those skills, if we can pull out those people, imagine what Sri Lanka will be like. Imagine that community, he brings in a new way of doing farming, or he learns something and brings it in, and the agriculture boom, the community develops from it. It's a ripple effect what takes place. But you might not notice it. You might think, what I know is just something, but you don't know what effect it can make in the long run, which you see it, which I think is really important. So I would say don't hide it. Don't hide your talent. Don't hide your skill. Share it.
Give it back.
Yeah.
Give it back.
And I think it's always like reach out, because like from what you said, we always say that a donation is not just financial. Yes, we do need financial donations, but there's also other ways. Like there's a lot of people who message us and will be like, we're not like vets or anything. And we always say it's not to run an organization. We don't just need everybody in one business doesn't do the same thing, like we need we have people who are like, who do accounts and who have like financial things. We need that kind of knowledge as well to run things, because I mean, every organization, if you have a registration, you have audits, you have budgets, you have strategic things that you have to like sort
the
out.
legal side of things.
Yeah,
which is
legal.
important.
So
Marketing.
pretty much everything that you do, you can actually, if you just reach out to any organization or anyone, it's basically like you don't even have to walk outside. It's right there at your fingertips if you reach out and say, hey, this is what I do. So when people actually ask if they can volunteer, I always say, can you send us your CV so that I can kind of see what you have done? Because they're thinking that yes, they have to come to the hospital and pet the dogs, and that's not always it. There's so much more that you can see from what they have done and say, hey, could you possibly, there's so many accountants and like legal, like lawyers and things that we have found from, where like suddenly, wait, like, you're an accountant. Is there a possibility of you maybe looking over our balance sheets towards the end of the month? It's possibly like an hour or two for them, but it helps us so much.
I mean, we have two of our members who are not based in Sri Lanka. One is in the UK, one is in Australia. But they're an integral part of the organization because of the skills they bring. One is from a understanding what's been done there, and that knowledge is important. And one person handles the finance, the accounting side of things, and it's important. I mean, with the current day and age, it's important to file for taxes, file the documentation. So, like Shilpa mentioned. You don't need to give money, and you don't need to physically be there. Like, marketing is a huge need, like to communication. And if you are a talented marketer, you don't have time. We can go get the content, but we need someone to organize it in a way and that the message can be passed through. So that's actually very helpful for an organization. And it's good that you said you asked the CVs. That's something I should start doing too.
Yeah, just to get an idea of what sort of person, because sometimes it might not be their job. But sometimes they'll, you can go through it and see like the very organized kind of people. And then I'm like, hey, can you maybe, would you like to get involved in the admin side of things? It's just about setting up our goals and reminding people that this needs to happen.
It's just synergies.
It's just that, it's just identifying where they might best fit and what might be easiest for them. Because if it's easier for them, there's a good chance that they can put more time into it or it can be used more effectively rather. So.
And I think one of the things that we don't want, I personally tell people we are not a charity organization. For me, it's sort of like a taboo word, charity. And it's more social contribution. It's more, it's just one community. We give back, and that's why we go as Live, Love and Give. And then it's not us asking to be charitable with their skill. Yes, it's the same word, and it's just a taboo word in my mind. It's more contributing something that you have that will definitely help evolve whatever organization you want to work in. It's not just the three of us. There's so many people out there that need help, that need support. I think listening to Timothy pre-podcast session, 1985 it started, but I think you properly took over in 2017. It was a stop-start situation because there are non-for-profit charities that people run that can't sustain, that can't continue. It's about identifying. When we were reaching out to a lot of organizations, when we were trying to establish ourselves and understand, we had that coming through saying, hey, we need this sort of resource, this sort of resource. It was not money. They were just asking sometimes time, someone to help them organize things, as simple as putting up a project proposal. And overseas, you get organizations that helps manage that. I'm pretty sure in Sri Lanka it's there. It's just I haven't come across any. So you could be one. You could say, hey, you know what? I'm brilliant in marketing. I'm going to open up a company that's just going to work with all these 5 NGOs and help push their message through, and that's my contribution in terms of time. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Okay, I'm going to set up an accounting firm. That's my skill, and my accounting firm will do the accounts, the audits, and all that stuff needed for these NGOs, and that's who we. I mean, you see this. You see, legal firms doing that thing in terms of supporting people. So there's just so much that you can do. It doesn't need to be what we spoke about. I mean, if you look out, there's enough and more. It's just conversations. And if you don't know what you want to do, but you want to do, reach to one of us. We have enough and more that we can share. But it's true what you said. I think the need is to sort of what your heart is, what your passion is, what your talent is, and then reach out to someone and give.
And I think it's just about starting. Just start. Like, don't wait for things to. Everything's not gonna like get lined up in a row for you to like start. And I think there's a lot of things. I don't know if you all get this, but I always get this with animals. Like, it's always like, but what about elephants? But what about children?
Yes.
But what about like, I'm doing what I can with what. So like, just start somewhere. Because there's always like, yes, there's 100 other groups of things that I can think that need help, but I think it's just about starting somewhere.
I think one thing I always say to people is go with your first voice. Don't wait for your second voice to kick in because second voice will always doubt the first voice and it will give you that thing of, you think I really should, maybe I should wait a bit more, But when you get that initial first voice, say, hey, go for it. I think you can do it. Yeah. You doubt that when you go for your second voice normally.
It's true. Like, I mean, if I look at how Live, Love and Give was established, like I said, it was established for a different purpose. I mean, in my mind, we were like, okay, organization, we go help people. But then over a period of time, you learn, you share, you meet brilliant individuals like these 2 individuals, you listen to them talk and you're like, okay, how can I do better? How can I do different? But you got to start. You got to start at some point. I mean, we get a lot of people. I actually recently, interesting enough, got a message from a friend of mine saying, hey, it's my dad's Almsgiving. I know you do a lot of social related work. What can I help with? So it inspired me to share our story. And I could sense that they were keen on, being part of it because it's not about, you come a birthday party, an Almsgiving or something like that. You go to one place and you just do something. You could do beyond that point. And like Shilpa mentioned, there's just opportunities out there for everyone to do whatever they want to do. It's not just one aspect in life. Like, there's dogs, there's elephants, there's cats, there's so many animals out there. And similarly with us too, with our community, it's not only just Padavia. There's just so much. There's many out there, like, and that has the need. I mean, like I said, there's just been so many ever since we started working. People have come to us saying, hey, this community needs his help. Is there something that you can do? But there's so much we can do. I mean, we have to focus on one aspect. We don't want to be stretching ourselves too thin too. So yes, I mean, that's important. Listen to your first voice.
That would be a good closing remark. Let's get back to that. But thank you so much for sharing that. And so we explored the different areas on how people can get involved, from contributing their skills to donating to or just like starting and doing something. So I just do have one final question, just diverting a bit from individual contribution. Let's say there are people who would want to start a small scale initiative or like a small project to address a local issue. What would your suggestions be to for someone like that? Shilpa, I'd like to ask that from you first.
So you mean as like if they want to start as a group?
Let's say they,
versus-
that's what. Let's say like it's me. Like I know for a fact that one day I want to start my own thing too. I know I'm already contributing and taking part in things, but I'd like to also have something, not right now, but at one point. For a person like that who has a passion inside, what would your advices be on how they can start? Like you started your own thing at one point, Denham started his thing. So if you were to give a few advices on how they can start a small scale non-profit organization, how
So
they
I
go
think
about
it's kind of two ways that I see it. For me, I worked for a lot. So I actually had a completely different job that I was doing,
Yeah,
and
you
I didn't
mentioned it.
like, you know, I wasn't like with the animals the entire time from like, but I kind of started working a little bit, like I started volunteering, I started turning up at, I don't know, like programs, community programs and stuff. So I sort of learned the landscape and I sort of looked out for gaps that I could see. And for me, I happened to have an idea and I just found a couple of other people who had the same kind of like thoughts, and then we started there. So you can start that way, or I mean, some people just start off with an idea and they're just able to go with it without too much, and you learn while you're in it. Sometimes you just volunteer with different things with different people. I know a lot of people who volunteer with us, but they will also volunteer with like a soup kitchen, and sometimes so they'll try a lot of different things, and I think it just sort of fits, you know. So at some point it sort of like just fits in your mind. Okay, this is what maybe this is somewhere I can contribute more. Maybe this is something this I can do a bit more of this. And then like I'm sure if you ask the three of us how you register and you start an organization, all three of us will tell you three different things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's also like learning from other people how best to do this. I mean, even as a non-profit, you can register as so many things, as a trust, as a guarantee limited, there's so many different things. So you have to kind of be in that kind of landscape, kind of learn what works best for you and how best your ideas are going to come across. And yeah, I think it's just about really starting and like not, because like there's people I know who are like, someday I will do this, and it's like, if they started off with something small, they'll get there. It's not this grand idea that you do when you know you're done with everything else. It's you just start, right, you now. Give like, you know, like you volunteer for us, maybe like for the secondhand sales and things, and it's just starting there, and you move on from that. That's like what, a couple of hours a month maybe. And if that's the time you have, you come and you talk to people, you learn kind of what, and then you move on from there. So, but the thing is that you start. You're not waiting till you finished your career
and
you,
everything to
start.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So thanks so much for sharing that, Shilpa. Denham, Timothy, do you want to add anything?
I think what
to
Shilpa
that?
said is what I had in mind too.
Yeah.
In a way, I mean, one of the things that I sort of say is mentoring is important, whatever it may be. And for me, I had a mentor. I had someone that I spoke to, someone that I sort of learned from, which is, you know, my cousin from Alabaster International. Listening to her and what she did, and she supported me a lot. So one of the things that I'd say is, if you are looking at starting up something, you have to have your own passion. You have to have your own drive, like what you like to do. I mean, it has to be along the lines what you want to do. Like, I mean, I can't go start something in the whole medical industry because I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't be suited to start something with animals because yes, I love animals, but that's not where my heart is at. So what my heart is more capacity building, you know, building something in more entrepreneurial driven, because that's who I am as an individual. So that is important. You need to first know who you and what you like doing. Knowing a little bit about yourself. I mean, I keep saying this. You love singing. You love you're a hairstylist, and then it's a combination of all that. And the little I know about you, I know you want to one day be an entrepreneur in your own way. So if that's what you like, you should base your thing on that, but you obviously need to have something that you can go back to and talk and say, hey, look, I'm trying to do this, how should it work? Pick on their brains. I mean, it's sort of like a networking thing. It's how it is. So that's what I would like to add to what Shilpa shared. She covered most of what you need to do.
I think the one other thing that's really important is that you need to love it enough to dig your heels in and stay in it, because it's not always going to be, you're not going to love every minute of it.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't. I
true.
mean, for
It
sure,
won't
when
be
I do
easy.
rescues, especially when they come home with me, when they're critical, I hate most of it, because it's a lot. It takes a lot from me, and I have to be at the hospital. I have to deal with getting really close to something and then possibly watching it die. There's a lot. So I can't, when I lose someone like that, I can't just stop and be like, okay, now I can't deal with this anymore. I'm not going to do it. So you have to love it enough to really dig your heels in, even when you don't love it. Like, there will be times you don't love it.
Because you can't be on top and want to help someone on the, you got to go in with them, you to understand them, and that's very important. You need to be with them, you need to understand. So you, like Shilpa said, you have to love it, you have to have a heart for it, because you shouldn't be in it for the wrong reasons. You have to have, it's fairly straightforward. If someone asks what should be the right reasons, you know what should be the right reasons. You want to be able to give back, and as long as you have that, then it's not by all means easy what we're trying to do, coordinating, talking. It takes time, it takes effort, especially when you're not full time on it. But when you're passionate about something, you'll find a way to get it done.
You can word it called, a sacrificial love or a sacrificial passion you have.
And
you
listen to
have
the first voice.
So I think you would have to sacrifice something of yours. Like Shilpa said, it's a passion. Not every step is going to be something you're going to be like, oh wow, amazing.
Yeah,
There's going to be
it's
times
gonna be
where it's going to be
difficult.
really tough,
Yeah.
really hard. But it's your love for that will just get you through it. You'll just push through
And
it.
then the fact that we've been spending this much of time with the Padavya community, just the overwhelming amount of response and the satisfaction they have, like, I'm amazed. Like they are so happy that there is, in their minds, it's as if they felt they were forgotten, they were ignored. The fact that there is this us that are trying to be there and be with them, it just makes them happy. Even if we don't end up achieving 100% of our goal, the fact that we're spending time, it makes them happy, and that's important. And it's just giving that little bit of that love, sharing a bit of that love.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much to all three of you for sharing that. So we've come to pretty much the end of our third segment. Just for a closing remark, if I was to ask, what would you want to leave with the audience, if at all they were supposed to take one thing, what would it be? So, Timothy, do you have anything to share?
I think I shared it in the first one. But I would say is, you will find so many things like this. There's so many out there. Like Denham said, there are so many NGOs. There are so many things happening. Find something and just contribute in a little way when you can. Like I say, every little drop counts, because that's where it collects. I remember this one story where this guy was walking on the seashore, and the ocean, due to that time, all the starfish were on the ocean, and it was crowded with so much starfish. This guy is walking and he sees one guy pick up one starfish and throws it back into the ocean, and there are millions. So he walks up and tells that guy and says, what's the point? You're going to be here forever, you can't do it all. He took one starfish and he said, to this one it makes a difference, and he chucks it back into the ocean. So sometimes we look at it and we can get overwhelmed with, oh my, so much to do. But maybe that one thing you decide, like Shilpa said, maybe it's a skill, maybe it's accounting, it may be admin, marketing, maybe you can handle the social media page of an NGO because you have that talent.
Or maybe you can bake a cake.
Bake a cake.
And sell that. Yeah, we have so many kids who do that. So
even like, a garage sale every year, and whatever your things you don't want, chuck it out, and have something, and start, and that's going to grow. And just pick your passion get connected where your passion is. I think that's key.
Thanks, Timothy. Thanks for that. Shilpa, what would you like to leave with our audience?
I think I've constantly been saying it, but I think it's start somewhere, because we get so many messages of people who are like, we have a dog starving outside our house. Can you come and feed? Like, can you do something? And my question is always, I'm glad you reached out to us, but the dog is outside your house. Perhaps you can start with just feeding, like start there. Because you can't do everything. You can't do hospital and rehoming and all of that, like the entire line of things that you need to do. Sometimes you just start with what you can do. You feed the animal, or you feed the person, or you start there. But just start. Like, don't wait for.
Thanks, Shilpa. And Denham?
While I was talking, I've had the view of the law of creation. Life does not happen by itself. We need to make it happen. And for some of these communities, that's not sort of applicable. They need that support. So like what Shilpa mentioned, like what Timothy mentioned, some of us need to be there to help build that up. Don't be in this perspective that they can figure things out, they can do things by themselves. They're just not committed towards it. Sometimes you just need to give that extra hand. So I'd say, live, love, and give. That's what I'd say.
Thanks, Denham. Thanks, all three of you, for joining the podcast again. So thanks, guys. This is the end of the third segment. I'm sure this episode would have left you feeling very inspired and would have actually ignite that spark inside of you to want and actually do more and give more back to society. I know it sparked inside of me so much. Just to recap, if at all you want to contribute in any way to any of the three organizations that is run by these amazing individuals, we are going to put the information below. You can go check out their socials. You can contribute, share, or just reach out to them even if you feel like you have a skill that you can contribute to them. With that, we have come to the end of the third segment. Thank you, Denham, Timothy, and Shilpa for joining the podcast. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks again.
If you enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe to the GEP YouTube channel. And we also have a bunch of very interesting practical short courses which are related to the episodes from the podcast. So stay tuned.